Okay. Why don't you start out by telling me the story about the chickens? You were just starting to say something about the chickens.
Oh, I was a man told me about this story here that he was working at around between Polson and Pablo, working for this guy, and he was working for him, and that one day he asked this guy here, his name is Jim Grinder, asked him where he was going to go, and the man says, well, I'm going to go to town. What do you want from town? So he told him, well, I want is a pint of whiskey. And he says, okay. So this man went to town, got down there and bought some wheat, and he turned around, he went up to liquor store. At that time, it was a long time ago. And this guy bought a pint for this Jim, and then he turned around, he said to himself, he said, get me a quart. That was a bottle that was a cork instead of what do you call it, He was going home and going back, and he took a drink, shut it, and put it in the back of the wagon, And come along, he went, took another drink, and he shut the cork again, and when he was going, just before he got home, took a great big drink, and I guess he didn't shut the cork too good, and after he put it down in the back, that whiskey and it didn't come flat open, Spilled all over on that wheat. When I got back up there, he was kind of half drunk, and he got back and told Jim, he says, well, I got your pint, it's in a wagon. So he took the pint and took it in his house, and he unharnessed the team and took them back in the barn. Come in. And he wanted to look out there again. When he went back out from the barn, he looked, and there was one rooster was picking around on the bottom part. But as soon as he jumped up to the wagon and started eating that wheat, pretty soon, when Jim got back over there, looked again, there was that rooster was laying there. And he went over there to the house and seen that woman was, cooking there, and she told that woman that you better go over there. There's a rooster laying in the back of the wagon. And so this old lady went over there, grabbed that chicken and took it back in the house because he thought he was dead. He was just drunk. And he took all the feathers off. Took all the feathers off and took them outside and set them on the table. And he pretty soon here the chicken was hollering around outside. The old lady was looking out, and here was that rooster that didn't have no more feathers. He was chasing all them hens. And she went back out there and she caught the rooster, took it back in the house. I cut out some clothes, sewed it up for him, and got a little jacket and put it on him. And pretty soon he let the rooster back out, Here was the rooster was around there trying to take his pants off. He had it like that, trying to take it off. And that was all there. A little bit of it a long time ago when I was just a kid. We used to go out and live in a teepee and out in the woods, while my dad used to go out and hunt for deers and bears too at the same time. When we come back here and we have a lot of dry meat, but sometimes like in winter, we'd go out on horseback and we'd get a deer that was fresh meat. And when we eat the fresh meat there for a while, and then we turn around, then we'd fix the dry meat again. And not a lot of times it goes down towards the river, down there by Buffalo Bridge on down. We used to get beavers there. We used to have beavers sometimes in the wintertime, because they'd be selling beaver hides when they get it. And that's what we used to eat, is beaver meat. And I could remember them things. And a lot of these old people, like these women folks rather, they'd go out and in the summertime, they'd get choke cherries and savage berries, like beetroot in the springtime, and also camas. That's all we used to live on that in the winter time. That's the only thing that we used to do what my people used to do around here at that time. And I am now, I am 67 years old. And I was that's when I was around 8, 9 years old. That's where I could remember them things, what they used to do, and hunting, grouse, everything that we used to eat. There was no such a thing as like potatoes and hardly anything like that. And once in a while, I could remember we used to go to a restaurant and eat there. And I thought that was something that we had, you know. That was really good. And the people used to go all over, even in the summertime, they'd go hunting and go up and get elk. Well, anything like moose, bears, beavers. But in the fall that they don't. But they used to just crop beavers, even like muskrats, all that stuff. Even we used to eat gophers, kill it and then we'd eat it. And the one they used to call woodchuck, we used to get that too. I could remember them days. That was pretty hard. Winter and what you call depression days. We used to have a hard time. And they used to call a guy by the name of Wolfinger. He used to come from Bolton every month and give us bacon, rice, beans, macaroni, stuff like that. And that's what we used to live on at that time. But people, the Indians, that's all they used to do is go on, like in the springtime, starts spring. Like around May, first part of May, and they start digging their beetroot. Got through digging beetroot now, and then it was camas. Used to pick that and cook it. And then they used to put that away for the winter, with things like that, all dried up. Well, then in the fall, that's when my people used to go out and go hunting and dry meat, about 2 or 3 suitcases full of it. That would last us all winter long. Just once in a while in the winter time we'd have fresh meat for a few days. Then we'd start in again on the dry meat. Sometimes, they'd boil it. Sometimes they'd just take a rock and 2 rocks, put them together, and then they pound their meat, make it fine stuff, fine meat, and we'd have that, dry meat, what you call it. They used to even put grease on it, on the meat. That's how I used to eat it. Hardly any. Sometimes we'd run out of flour, and sometimes we'd just eat meat, unless if the old people used to make moccasins and sell it. Go and get their grub, buy flour and something like that.
So it sounds like the majority of the food that you ate at that time.
Let me. Maybe
I'll
my
say,
earphone is out.
Okay. Okay. Is that better? Oh.
But sometimes we stay in the teepees most of the time in the summertime, because we used to go out like picking huckleberries. We'd go out there, and then we used to live in the teepees in the summertime there. That's over in what you call West Fisher. And well, in the places like back in going towards Browning, there was a place we called Essex around in there. And then all over back around Kalispell, there behind the Kalispell by the mountains. That's why we used to go and stay half of the summer in like around July and August, September, not all over, just that probably 1 month would be out there picking huckleberries. Then we'd come back here, and that's when in the fall, that's when we go out again and stay in the teepees for about another month, just to go and get our deer meat, stuff like that.
How large a group would go?
Well, I guess it's all making a difference. I guess there'd be a whole bunch of them, and it was a big teepee, you know, and they'd have maybe 10 people in there, something like that. And they all go hunting all that the next morning, whenever they want to go out. And then sometimes there'd be a whole bunch of camps all over around just at one place there where they get together and they stay together and they hunt. Sometimes if one gets one, then they all share with one. And that I could remember them days. I was just when I was a little kid, like from around 5, 6 years old, that's when then I could remember things like that, what the people used to do.
People must have been very close and friendly with one another to live that close together.
Very close together. and all that, well, just like I say about this, like when we come home, then we just be here and then in the winter time, my dad used to go out hunting, and then we'd have fresh meat at that time. Oh, maybe a week or so, then we'd run out, and we'd start eating the dry meat again, maybe 2-3 weeks, and some other stuff like beetroot and choke cherries and savage berries. A week at a time, That's all they used to do, all of them. As I could remember, any place I'd go, that's all they'd have.
You say you remember this stuff from when you were maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old?
Yeah.
When did it begin to change and why?
Oh, when everything was start having war, that's when everything was changed. At that time, long time ago, when you go to town before that, when I could remember, and we used to even go clear to Hamilton to, we used to go down there, and I could remember that too. We used to go down, my folks used to pick strawberries all summer, I guess. And then in the fall, that's when they start picking apples. They pick apples with them, maybe a month or so, and then we come back. About that time, it's when they start hunting around here. Do the same thing again. Hunting, get dry meat and all that, make dry meat. Then when they get done, they come back home again. And that's when we'd all have dry meat all winter long. And like just choke cherries and stuff like that, that's what we have. And beavers, when they start getting beavers, they go out and trap in the winter time. Sometimes they get a bunch of it, and they go sell it. And that's what we used to live on. Some of them would get about $100 and some, but one or 2 weeks, I'd have money for a while. Because some days it was on depression days. That was something that I thought it was. I wasn't thinking about that depression days. I thought we was just living there, But I guess that's the way it was. It was depression. I never thought nothing about it. But later I know what it was then. We used to get like dozen eggs was 9 cents. a dozen. Now it's $1 and some cents for one dozen. At time it was only, at that time, back in 30s, well, 20s I think it was, 20, 28, 29. Turned back in there, it was pretty cheap then. Well, in 30s too, part of it, because we used to go out working for the agency, making these CC loads, and we was getting $1.50 a day. And I started working when I was 16. When kids were working then, when they get up to 16 years old. And that's what we was making our living then. $1.50 a day, making trails, fences, and roads up in the hills were fixed out. All over the reservation. I guess that's what you call reservation. When I was just a kid, because I didn't know nothing about it, I thought we was just living here, you know. And all that time, I finally found out that we was in a reservation later on. And a lot of things that I could remember, things that my dad used to tell me about, what's all about in this reservation. There was a reservation that used to go right through McGregor Lake, up that other way, I don't know how far, and it used to come right across to Whitefish Lake, right in the middle of that. And a man, I forgot what was that guy's name. He was up there, and he found that some stakes where it was supposed to be in the reservation line. I don't know how come. Well, my dad didn't know either. How come they cut that reservation, cut it right here by Rollins? Because that, well, in a way, from the supposed to be reservation line and to the Canadian line, what they call Canadian line. That's how far our hunting ground was. But later on, after I got about 22 years old or something like that, them white people, they start picking us up for killing the deer outside the reservation. But now I know that we could go out hunting outside where there's state land. Not a state land, but what do you call, well, I think it is state land too.
National Forest?
Yeah, national forest. Well, we could go hunting in the place around, if there's no fence around it. And they can't say that it's a national forest or what you call it. State park. State land or whatever, what you call it. So that.
But it wasn't until you were 22 or so that they started to arrest Indians for hunting in this?
Well, it was way before that, before I seen some guys getting picked up when they were picking huckleberries up in that country there in Libby. And I was kind of young then, about like 18, 19 years old. It's when that one guy got picked up for killing a deer outside the reservation.
So what did Indians do when all of a sudden they couldn't hunt as much game as they used to or gather as many huckleberries because the whites were starting to arrest them?
Yeah.
What did Indians do when that started to happen? I mean, what changes did they make in their lives in order to make a living or stay alive?
Oh, well, I could remember that back in 30s. That's when we started going to West Fisher and pick huckleberries. At that time we wasn't picking for selling it. We was picking it for to eat in the winter time. But later on, I think it was around 32 or something like that, when this, what's his name, they call, and I can't think of that guy's name. Birch. Yeah, when they started to buy huckleberries from us, he was asking the Indians to give him the huckleberries, and that'd be for his to owe them Indians so much money. Well, it was $1.35. I mean, not $1.35. It was only 35 cents a gallon at that time, that I could remember. And we got that, I don't know how many years, about 2 or 3 years, I think. Then it kind of come up to 50 cents. And it keeps coming up now too. Now huckleberries is $15 a gallon now. When I could remember, it used to be 35 cents a gallon, that I could remember. But before that, it was just to pick huckleberries to live on in the wintertime.
Do you remember any Kootenai people farming when you were a young boy?
Well, there was a few. I guess there was some. they used to make farm wheat, oats, like that, you know. But they finally kind of quit, I guess, because I don't know how come they quit. But back here, there used to be, my dad used to, up here, up on top of this little ledge, there used to be oats and grain up here. But I don't know how come he quit. Maybe it wasn't too much money or whatever. Because a lot of times I heard that white people used to go and trade something, you know, like that wheat and for grub or something. But I just could remember just a little bit of that too. And long time ago, that my dad used to make 75 cents a day cutting 4-footer logs, you know, to make wood with. And I used to haul it to Summers, and then go sell it back in there. That's what they used to do a long time ago too. And some of them used to sell fish in the wintertime to make their living, to buy tobacco and stuff like that. That about the time I could think of what they used to do a long time ago. And was a lot of over here by Flatlands, there used to be a guy there cleaning knock trees out, you know, and take brushes out, so that where the guy can farm or whatever. They used to pay him so much a day too, to clear up the place. I wouldn't know just how much they were getting an acre cleaning up.
What did Kootenai people need money for at that time? What would they use it for?
Or you mean
what kind of things did they need to buy in those days?
Well, probably whatever they want to buy, I guess. Like maybe a car or a wagon or something like that. Because that's all there was. It was just horses and wagons, you know. But Indian people here, the Kootenays, they had a lot of horses at that time. All over in this country here was just full of horses. There wasn't too much cattle at that time. Some white people come along and they'd have maybe 1 or 2 cows or something like that, you know, moving along, looking for a place where they can farm. I could remember that, a little bit of it. 'cause some of them would be having going through here was just waiting. There wasn't very many cars at that time. Model Ts rather. That's all they had was wagons. And
What was that like, traveling around by wagon instead of car?
probably that was only thing that's only what do you call they have to travel around with, the wagon. Or sometimes in the winter time when they're going through, they have to use a sleigh gun to go around in the winter time. But a lot of times after that, I think it was back in around 29, 30s. Well, 26, I think it was when I started seeing buses that went by. It wasn't too big. It wasn't as big as this one, but it was a kind of small, but had a yellow line on the side. So they used to go through here. Well, the road was down below here. And it's going way over there, and let's go across. And on the other side of the highway from here, on the other side, that's where the old highway used to be. And when they go through there, I used to watch them. They'd go so far and it'd stop. Probably too much snow, Then they'd back up and take another try. And sometimes they go through. Sometimes they have to go make about 2 or 3, before they can go through. And it takes maybe a couple of days before they can get to Missoula at that time.
Do you believe that the food that Indian people ate, the bitterroots and wild game, that kept people healthier at that time?
I think so. I think it was. Nowadays, they got you for sugar diabetes, getting you sick. But a long time ago, the Indians was healthy, Only thing that I could remember is, too, that they have that TB. I don't know where that come from. But later on, that's what the old people had. That was the only thing that was that TB that they get sick from. But then they still get like pneumonia, double pneumonia, and all that stuff. But they never hardly got that too much either.
Did your parents or grandparents tell you any stories about the first interactions between Kootenays and white people?
Well, at that time my dad it wasn't that much, I guess. But what they used to tell me, I don't know how long ago that was, when the white people moved in on us. That's been quite a while ago. And the white people start having a war later on. And these people, white people, start having a war with the Nespers. They had a war with them from Idaho clear into Canada by Browning Way. That's what they were fighting over. And these Indians were using rattlesnake kind of that what you call poison. And whenever they get hit from on the arm or in the place, and just stick them, you know, they die from it. And finally the white people quit, told them Indians they want to quit. That's when they were in Canada, when the Indians quit. And some of them come back to here and stayed here. You know, in places like where the Indians were staying, they all bunched up with them. And there were some here. I don't know how many of them guys stayed here. And some of them died from here, married, you know, to the tribe. And I guess that's the way that was. Some white people wanted to fight all the time. That one time there, I hear that this one Indian shot this one white man. That's when it started the war. And it always get beat, but I see in the show it don't. It's always a white man getting the best of the Indians. But it wasn't, it was the other way around. If them, you know, if they have the, what it called, straight, you know, then it would be Indians that would be getting the best of the whites. Indians were getting the best of the white men because we shoot them with a bone arrow, and they sneak right up on them, and that way they were getting them fast as they could, you know. But some white people was having guns, you know, what they make, you know. What you call powder, what you call they stamp it, you know. And I could hear them guys talking about it, some of them old people. That was the only way they can get the best of them, because when they start shooting them, when they really get close, you know, then they start shooting them with that arrow that really got them. Because they sneak up there to them right close, so they could shoot them right from real close to distance. And I guess they used to get a whole bunch of them, and then then it back out, you know. And some of them white people, or whatever you call that, I think it was soldiers, or, you know, they have that camp someplace, you know, and them Indians used to go over there and climb up on the fort, or whatever you call it, and they'd shoot them from the top, you know. Or at night, they'd go in, somehow they'd go inside, they'd start shooting them with an arrow. They didn't have time to shoot them with a gun. Just get a whole bunch and let it scatter all over again. Yeah.
I guess about 10 years before you were born, this reservation was open to white people,
Mm-hmm.
the homesteaders. Did you hear any stories about that? Or?
No, not really. But I know when I was just a kid, that's when there wasn't very many white people then. There was just the town in Kalispell. It used to be on this side. I guess that's where it was. That was before I was born. And later on, then they move up north a little bit more, and that's where they had their. That's where you call Kalispell. And I don't know. The Flatheads was the one that said that. They called them Qlispe. That's why they call that name. But they were from around Washington at that time. That's why that's what I hear that what they say that was the Flatheads. They used to call them Qlispe. That's how come that name. They named that name of it.
Well, I think I might have mentioned to you before that part of this program that we're making will be about Kerr Dam.
About Kerr Dam?
Yeah. Can you tell me anything about Kerr Dam? Or I guess some of your brothers worked there.
Yeah, I worked there too. Yeah, my two brothers worked there. One of them got killed there. Younger brother, not he wasn't younger than I am. He was about 3 or 4 years older than I am. And he got killed there. And the other brother was alive till later on. He got burnt over here, burned up. The next place. Yeah, he worked in Kerr Dam for I don't know how many years, how long it took it to build that dam. Yeah, my younger brother, he died in 1937 in September when he got killed on a dirt slide. Probably a rock hit him or something on why it killed him. But he was under the ground, when the dirt come down and it covered him up, I guess, couple of feet. And that's when I was working in CC's that time. I was working just about a mile. We was building fences around there. And I was about 17 or 18. That time was not when my brother got killed there.
How did your brother talk about the work that he was doing before he got killed? Did he like working there, or what did he say about it?
Well, he said he liked it, but he was working under what do you call this? Labor, rather. But I didn't know if he was running the machine or anything like that, like I used to do when I used to work up here around Belton, all them places I used to work and drilling holes, rock holes, fixing the highways, and then fixing for railroad. We used to cut them roads straight across instead of going round and round and round like that. But we was building a tunnel, and then when we break through, then they have the road right straight across. I've did that 3 or 4 times, like then we'd around here on the highways, like going towards Mission, there by Mission, just on the other side, we'll build that road there, going over to River Valley. We broke some of them rocks. There was my uncle named Al Couture. And there was about 2 or 3 of us, maybe 4, who was working there, breaking them rocks up.
So you learned how to do that at Kerr Dam?
Yeah, I learned before that. I learned that how to drill and all that. And I was done when I was down in Kerr Dam. I was chuck tending, but I knew how to run the machine. but I just didn't want to be, didn't want to be monkeying around with the machine. So I just took and pulled the goddamn steel out when they get through learning. Sometimes we get our steel stuck, but we used to get it out. There was one guy there that come in there and he said he was supposed to be a driller, expert one. So I helped him. He was not even, he doesn't even know how to drill. He never even touched a drill. So I had to help him out to drill. Finally I got him started, and a couple of days later he got canned. Because he didn't done the right thing, what he was supposed to be doing.
To move into his place?
Yeah, I took his place then. I took his place and then I drilled about 3 or 4 holes all over. Then I'd go around, make holes all the way.
Get a pay increase also?
Yeah. I was getting a couple of dollars more, or maybe 3, I think, what I was doing. And they used to call nipple man. I was on there too. A couple of days I worked on there before they put me down on the machine. I was knocking off the bits. Every time there was one there, then I'd knock them all off, take them back and that sharpen it. And after I get through with that, then pretty soon, we was doing good. Then the boss told me, said, yeah, you can take one of the machines. Them guys won't come back. So I had to go in there and took one of the machines. And I started then. Well, I was working down at Libby, I mean not Libby, but Hungry Horse. And that's what I did too. Then well, before that that was way before that we started working in the tunnel over there. We busted through there.
How was working at Hungry Horse different from working at Kerr Dam?
Well, I done everything there. I was everything. I was even drilling holes, little short ones, you know. If it's not the right, what do you call it, cement, we had to break them up again, and then get it right in the same. That's what I was doing. Sometimes I go out again, get some dirt, not dirt, but gravel. I'd work there for a couple of days, and then I'd go back up to the dam, work up in there. Sometimes I'd be fixing the walls with a machine so so they can put the cement back in. Then they had sandblaster, they call it. I had to have a screen like that on. And I was doing that. I was doing everything, everything that some guys don't want to do it, you know. I had to go in there and learn how to do it.
Was it because it was more dangerous that they wouldn't?
Yeah, it was more dangerous, I think. But to me, it wasn't. It was just because the rock was just going like that, you know. Sometimes you can feel it hit you.
Alec Lefton has told us that the working conditions at Hungry Horse were a lot safer than at Kerr Dam.
Uh-huh.
You think that's true?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was Kerr Dam wasn't that good. But over there it was all right. But when we came back later on, when we had to put another tunnel in here, that's where we went into the 2 miles.
Miles in?
We had to go in 2 miles and then 1 mile down. 1 mile down. I worked there 1 month. I thought it was a little too dangerous for me, so I quit.
Is there a lot of accidents around, or just so far in the?
It wasn't that many accidents, but it's kind of dangerous, you know.
Drilling?
Yeah. And I guess my uncle got caught in that place. It took him 3 hours before they got out. Had to take a hole, and finally they got through. And there was one more guy in there. They couldn't get him out, so there was 2 or 3 guys that got out of there. They went up, then the other guys went down there and got him. I don't know if he was all right or what. And that's what happened down in Mullen, Idaho.
Where else did you work during your working days?
Well, like here, that's about all the places I worked, Idaho and then Dam down here, and then Kerr Dam, and on the other side of Belton there where we was drilling to the tunnel. It's about all the places I worked since I could remember.
One thing that a lot of elders have talked with us about is how much the old ways were close to the earth. And I always wondered if some Kootenays felt that it wasn't right to build that dam in that river. Because,
Up there.
yeah.
Well, some of them didn't like it because that was their what their spirits is at. They had a hole there at that time, but I've never seen it to this day. And that's what the Indians didn't kind of like it on kind of building that dam there, because that's where the spirits is at, just like in, what do you call it, down on the other side of Libby. And white people wanted to make another dam there, and that's why we kicked about it, because that's our place, just like they're taking care of us. Now all of these places where they, like upper side of Libby, would be the same thing. We know that the old timers, a long time ago, that's why they go through and go looking for spirits. Go places, there's some places that's where they go and look for it. And they find it. That's how come they leave their mark there, you know, where they go to. And now this last spring, we were talking about the water. Like over in Libby, the upper Libby, where that water was way down. So I guess we can't help that we can't get no water because there was no snow. And this one guy from Bonner's Ferry, he said that a long time ago we used to have a sturgeon come up in that river there. Now we can't get him no more because the water's way down. And they close that, they put it down there, you know. That's what the guys were howling about. Well, but it's true because I know. When I used to live down there, I didn't live all my life, but then I just stayed there for maybe a month or so, and then I'd come back up here. I was living with a guy down there, and he told me, he says, do you want to come with me? I said, yeah. I didn't even know where he was going to go, but I went with him and to the river. He had a canoe where it was made out of cannabis, and it was about so wide. We got in, he said, you put your leg like that, so it won't tip over. And that's what he did when he got in. Then we took a oar, supposed to be our oar, little ones, start moving it like that. So we went, we got spotted right in the middle. There was a rope. I finally seen it. Was a rope there. He started taking that rope and going. We didn't have to oar no more, just pull himself. And he said, we got one. We went back to the shore and we pulled that fish, that sturgeon, it was about 6-7 feet. And
with the canoe, huh?
yeah, and we pulled him out. got him on top. And he says, hell, this is a small one. Jesus Christ. I thought that was the biggest one, you know. Only about 6 feet. God damn, he thought, hell, this is a small one compared to the big ones, you know, I guess. So we had sturgeon that time. It was all right. Pretty good. And, yeah, this is a small one. 6 feet, that's pretty big. You know. God damn near as big as I am. Yeah, you said, well, that's a small one.
Was that when you're still traveling?
Yeah,
Still going down yet?
yeah, I'll just go down there and visit and down there and come back.
So did you guys dry some of it up, or?
No, we just had a little bit, you know, but some people, they feed one another in wherever they have that houses, you know, like around Mission, like,
Oh, yeah.
and that's where they had a bunch of homes in one place. And this one guy, he had a land down there, that's where he moved down there. But these other guys were in one bunch, houses all over. So one day, when this old man got done, he just cut them pieces, just enough to give these people to eat. And that's what I guess everybody does. A friendly home, you know. And then whenever one of them gets something, and they feed one another. It isn't like that now.
Uh-huh.
You,
No more sturgeons either.
yeah, you can't even do meat, you know, they won't even give you unless if you're, like my grandson, you know, he'd give me arm or something like that. But these guys won't even as much as give you anything that they get. It's not like the long time ago. Here the same way, down here a long time ago. When you go hunting, and if you get one, you feed people, you know. That's how come the people used to get something to eat every day. Never get hungry. Because they help one another. But now you can't do it anymore. These guys won't even give you meat anymore like they used to do.
Why do you think that people don't share that way anymore?
I don't know. It's because maybe they're just tight. Rather, you know. And then they take your gun, they won't even give you as much as a hind quarter or something, you know. To go sell it, to go get drunk. That's just the way it is now. Guy down here always want to go hunting. Come and ask me for a gun. I thought, well, I just hocked mine to go get something to eat for myself. But I got a gun here. I don't want to give them no more gun anymore because I won't get nothing. The cells cost money when you use it. Yeah.
For the younger people, like your grandchildren, would you want these older ways to come back for them in the future?
Yeah. Yeah. I try to teach them. I try to tell them what the old people used to do a long time ago. But I don't know about feeding like these old people would feed, like they used to do. I don't know if that'll ever come back, because I don't know, it's all. But if you have grandchildren or something like that, they might help you, but that's it. But these others, they won't be nothing like that no more.
What do you think the best way would be for this money from Kerr Dam to be used to help the culture in the future, help these old ways carry on, help those future generations?
Well, I think what I think is could be done, give them so much, but I don't think they will do that. But maybe some might, like fixing like a farm or something like that, or get a cattle and raise things like that. But I don't know, that would be kind of hard to tell them about that, because I think it would be hard for them to.
Okay, hold on.
It would be kind of hard for them to do these things like that, what the white people there would do. That would be the only way that they would live on, and make themselves so they can farm and settle someplace like for land. Like if they have a land or something like me here, I got just a little piece left. We used to have about 300 acres here, but no more. All I got is about 17 left out of this place. Yeah, that's the only way I think that would be all right if they can do that, to live on. But I don't think none of these kids, some of them might do it, but some of them I don't think they won't wouldn't be like that. Because too much liquor going around, smoking. That's what gets them. This kid here just shot himself. He's been just smoking all the time. That's what's really getting these kids now, You can't tell them nothing. They want to be the way they want to be, and that's it. I know a lot of them, you can't tell nobody nothing. But if a person would think about to go ahead and do things like making farming or something like that, or have a kind of buying a restaurant or a store or something like that. If they could do that, it'd be all right, but if they won't. That's the thing that, what I think about it, that makes me feel bad when I think about it. When I was young, around 14, 15, 16, I was about 16 or 17 when my dad used to have cattle here. After that, then they sold out, and that was it. I could never build another. I probably could do that, but I couldn't go to agency and try to borrow money because some guys won't give me no money to borrow money. They're so darn tight. But they don't know. I don't know what I could think of. But I'm a little too old now to go ahead and do things now. So I just thought, let it be. Because I lived long enough to know what I'm going to do. I don't get no help from anybody, but now I get this money, but it isn't much. But still I make it through the month. And I even